Welcome back to A People's Guide to Publishing. I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing and Distribution. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 25 years.
I'm Ellie Blue. I'm the editorial and marketing director here at Microcosm. We are an independent mid-list publisher based in Portland, Oregon. We have 14 employees, over 650 titles in print with 20 to 40 new books per year, and we distribute thousands of titles from other publishers.
We started this podcast so that we can share what we've learned with newer publishers so that you can learn from our mistakes.
Or maybe you just want to understand the publishing industry.
This week, we are going to talk about leverage. Ellie, what is leverage?
So I learned the concept leverage from Andy Grove's book, High Impact Management, which is very...
That seems a little advanced. Let's start with a lesson that you learned last week while installing ceiling drywall.
Got it. Well, yes, I actually learned about leverage as a child on the seesaw.
Oh, there you go. That's a great one. And what did you learn?
I learned that you can perfectly balance the seesaw if you can kind of get each person scooted forward or backward just to the right amount. But I also learned that if you ask another young girl when you're 9 and she's 9 how much she weighs, she will probably burst into tears. Oops.
Okay. A lot of lessons in that.
Sorry, Lauren.
Well, here we are.
I know.
And so... seemingly, these might be disparate definitions or disparate concepts, but really they are not.
No, I suppose not. I feel like you're going to be better equipped to give a scientific explanation of how levers work than I am. Though I can tell you all about the social dynamics of negotiating them.
Finally, that's what I'm here for, everyone. So leverage is, like, you are only so strong. Well, you're probably really strong. You're a book publisher. But you probably lift a lot of boxes. But if you had like a lever or, like a bar, you could often use that to much greater leverage than if you were just trying to pry something with your hands.
Right, like a crowbar. That's why a crowbar works, leverage.
Like it's not making you any stronger. You are only as strong as you are, but it enables you to do things that you wouldn't be able to do without it.
So, and it basically, it's like a force multiplier for your strength.
Yes, there you go. I mean, a lever is a force multiplier it's not only just for your strength, it's for anything. Or all kinds of strengths, emotional strengths, So
when we talk about leverage in management...
Yeah, I was going to approach financial leverage first, but you're right.
Financial leverage.
Because there's
so many things we can do with levers.
Right, and so that's basically like, what are the things that you could spend money on that work like a lever to produce more leverage, And in boring people talk, statisticians or accountants would call that return on investment, but that makes it sound really boring, and a lever is actually pretty fun. So think about it in terms of like, when I do it this way, what am I getting out of it? When I do it this way, what am I getting out of it? And that's sort of that's exactly how leverage works. And then you want to repeat your successes and, like you can do things that have minimal leverage. You could do them all day long. But what you'll find out is that pretty quickly over time, the reward of a smaller lever, you would just be better doing something else, even if it's like somewhat helpful. It has to serve a larger goal. And so, in book publishing, sometimes it's like we have a lot of shorter levers that allow us to sell into certain accounts. Even though we don't ever make money from selling those books, we are able to sell them books where we do make money, or we're able to grow into that, or the way I...
Right, like the books where we don't make money are the thin end of the wedge, so to speak.
Yeah. And the way I explain it to purchasing is, you want to be getting titles that allow us to shore up those existing, like, healthy, good accounts. You want to get titles that allow us to get into new accounts if we just had enough for them to work with us. And you want to get the ones where, it just gives an opportunity for a relationship that's going stale, to have, for the salesperson to have a reason to get in touch with that account. So you have sort of 3 reasons.
Right, where you like you're one, like if you are a salesperson and you have time to make one phone call, you want to choose the one that has the greatest leverage. Mm-hmm. Even if it's like calling an account about one book that they might buy 2 of, if it gets you into them placing a bigger order for other books too.
And sometimes the biggest leverage is the person that's not going to scream at you, and sometimes it's like the thing that will like give you that oomph to do your job better.
Right.
Tomorrow. Or sometime, just to feel like you had that, like, one win today. So
what is, what is the best leverage that a book publisher can get for their time and effort?
Well, I mean, it's I've ran into something this week where somebody claimed to have invented the concept of passive income, but I don't think that's possible because I feel like that's something as old as time,
Right, I guess passive income is in fact the best leverage that there is. It's a law of physics.
So like the best leverage is something that you did years ago that is slowly continuing to have payoffs based on, promotion, marketing, labor, editorial production that you did, 20 years ago. That would truly be the best.
Right, and you're like making minimal effort now but getting lots of rewards in return.
You just have to maintain, and so then, from there, it's books that are similar to that book. From there, it's, books that sell well alongside that book, which is a thin difference, but a very important distinction. And then from there, it's, places that you want to grow to, but without being too far from what you're known for.
I think we already actually did a whole episode on leverage and management. I think it was like, how should I spend my time? I forget what it was called. We can try to link to it in the episode notes.
But and I feel like it, a lot of, every episode of this podcast is the same. It's really just a matter of like explaining the concept in a way that resonates where the concepts connect, because I feel like I have this conversation a lot with publishers where they're like, I'm just, my efforts are just not paying off. And then I say something, but the thing that I'm saying is, just not connecting. Like they can't really understand how what they're doing is not futile. And so I need to say it in a way that does connect.
So if you like reading books, maybe you do. As a publisher.
Maybe.
I really recommend a book that you probably would never pick up in a million years because it does not look like it would be good, but Andy Grove's High Output Management is all about leverage in business. It's not at all about publishing, but that was like very eye-opening for me to like really understand that concept and like just kind of make better decisions.
Yeah. And, and it's the age-old thing of, there's so many things you could do in a day. And then by the time what is called proof of concept and scaling in the modern tech world and or disrupting or other such words that previously had meaning, all those concepts are basically saying, is there interest in what you're doing? Would it scale? Would it work at 10 times your size? Would it work at 1,000 times your size? And by work, I mean like, are there enough people? Like, would they pay for it? Can you do your liabilities and your income, do they level out?
Right, I guess the best example of leverage, or like not using leverage we ever found was that person we met who was a self-published author who could sell her books one by one anywhere she was. She was so good at selling her books one at a time, but she could not get better leverage. She could never find a situation where she could sell 5 books or 10 books or 100 books.
Right, because the customer is maybe, on a good day, a customer might be like, oh, I'll take 2, Yeah. It's just not something that scales, So you need something where if it did work out, it would work out smashingly, So, and that can be difficult, especially it's difficult if these are unfamiliar concepts or if you're newer at this, And so, fundamentally, though, this isn't something that you'll master in a day. It's something that you'll master in a lifetime. So, it's definitely the kind of thing where, as our friend Amy Joy told her, no, was it not Amy Joy? It was somebody in Amsterdam told us that the theme of the country was to get 5% better every year.
So that was Jessica. Thank you, Jessica.
Jessica told us that. Yes, that's right. She told us that in a cafe. But point being, we adopted that.
Yeah, your romantic moment of being in a cafe in Amsterdam really touched me.
It was truly one of the best moments of that trip. But the, point being is, everybody feels like they want to go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. And, as such, a lot of people really romanticize sports cars. But that's actually really boring and not as common as you might believe. It's much less risk and much greater chance of success if you build to that,
Don't crash your sports car.
Please.
Try hypermiling instead.
For the children. Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub.
On Twitter at Microcosm.
On Facebook at Microcosm Publishing.
On Instagram at Microcosm_pub.
And here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.